you so much for joining us today to chat about tone on the clarinet.
Well, thank you, Tyler. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm a clarinet player by trade since middle school myself, and actually have a degree in clarinet performance in addition to my music ed degree and an administration degree. I've been doing this for 32 years. I just finished year 32 of teaching, and what I found out along the way is that the things that we were taught in methods classes, the things that we were taught or that we read in the descriptions from our method books are incomplete or in some cases misleading. And so a lot of the things that I do with my students have happened and developed over years and years and years, and piecing together pieces of advice from all the experts and all the players. And I think we have something that really works with our kids, and I'm happy to share some ideas with all of our viewers today.
Absolutely. And I'll also make a plug for Wendy's website. Would you mind sharing your website? Is it onandoffthepodium.com?
Onandoffthepodium.com.
Yes, and I will also tell you that in my first year of teaching, I found a bunch of incredible resources there. Wendy is, as you can tell, is somebody who's very eager to share things with the greater music ed community, and so I really encourage every listener to go onto her website and find some of the great things that she has on there. She has articles, posters, and all kinds of different things that you might find helpful if you're a new teacher or even just a teacher looking for some additional resources.
And it's all free. I don't charge for anything on my website. It's just there for whoever can use it.
We love free. We love free. So, okay, today we're of course chatting about tone quality on the clarinet. And of course, for many of our teachers here, we have students that are experienced players, but also some of us that might be beginning or teaching beginner clarinets as well. So could you talk to us a little bit about how we might describe a characteristic tone on the clarinet, or even possibly what are maybe signs of an uncharacteristic tone?
Sure. A characteristic tone really on any instrument should be vibrant. It should be resonant. It should have clarity. And I mean, that's really true for any instrument. And so when you don't have those pieces, when you have those extraneous noises, the fuzziness, the airiness, that should be a sign to you as the director, as the teacher, that, okay, something isn't working quite right here. And so we just always want to look for that purity, that clarity of sound, and that big resonant, beautiful dark tone on clarinet.
Of course. And so with that, the necessary steps to make that possible, and that of course encompasses a lot of things such as our posture, our embouchure, our mouthpiece, and our reed. Would you mind kind of going into depth about those possible ingredients that we need in order to make that resonant sound?
Sure. In terms of setup, things that you might do in advance with the instruments that you have, if it's possible, I do try to recommend that you do an upgraded mouthpiece. Even if you don't have a higher quality instrument, upgrading the mouthpiece can make a big difference. The stock mouthpieces that come with instruments are generally just stock mouthpieces. They don't give the greatest sound. So, I mean, check in with, there's lots of different ones, and there's some that are really, really affordable. They don't all cost $100+, but check in with your dealers and your local teachers and see if you can find a little bit better quality mouthpiece for your students. Mm-hmm. That being said, once the kids come into your classroom with their instruments and you're getting ready to start, I really move pretty deliberately in the beginning. I'm not in a hurry to get to the method book. I'm not in a hurry to even get to the entire clarinet. We don't actually make a sound in our beginning clarinet class until day 3.
Wow.
So it's a very deliberate process, but we talk a lot about, we work on the breathing process, getting this full relaxed inhale and a fast focused directional airstream on the exhale. And with clarinet, you really do have to have that fast air. If you think about it, what makes the sound on a clarinet? It's the reed vibrating, right? And so the air has to be strong enough to move that reed and make it vibrate freely. And so the air is the first piece. The embouchure has a lot to do with that as well. So you want that fast focus, cold airstream. We talk a lot about the difference between strong air and hard air. Hard air would be like blowing out a birthday candle. We don't want that. We want a strong airstream that just moves. And, think about that birthday candle again, would make the flame flicker. Mm-hmm. So air is first. And of course, posture is part of the airstream, really working on posture and getting rid of any tension that you might have in the body, especially in the shoulders. But anywhere in the body, we work on kind of developing that tension-free, natural body position. I tend to call it body position. I will revert to posture, but body position, I think, more directly talks about, because it's more than just the position of your back, your spine. It has a lot to do with all of the muscles in your body and where your arms are and what your hands are doing and all of those things. So really spending some time working on airstream and body position in the beginning is crucial. And then when we start on the clarinet, we use this much. This is our mini clarinet. And so I'm not in a hurry to get to the full clarinet. We spend a lot of time on our mini clarinets. Most of the descriptions that you see in method books where it talks about clarinet embouchure, I think I mentioned before, they're misleading at best and inaccurate at worst. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have this misconception that you roll the bottom lip over the bottom teeth, and that is not really what is happening here. What is happening is you're pushing your jaw forward to get your teeth in line with one another. And when that happens, you're pushing your jaw against your bottom lip. And so we get this flatness of the lip. And I don't know if you can see it, we get a valley in the chin. When you roll, your chin is rounded. And we don't want that. And so I never tell my kids to roll their bottom lip over their teeth. What we do is we say, pretend you're putting chapstick on your bottom lip. And so then we get this kind of a shape. Now, surprisingly, some kids can't do that. And they so, there's a little bit of remediation that sometimes has to happen with a few of them. But if they're pretending they're putting chapstick on the bottom lip, that's the first step. And what that does is that gets the lower lip and the jaw in position. You need your teeth to be in line with one another. You can't have your back teeth back. Otherwise, there's no way to support the mouthpiece, because the mouthpiece is actually supported with the teeth and not with the lips. So chapstick lip, valley in the chin is the first step, or the first two steps. So then we talk about marking your spot. So if you look at your clarinet mouthpiece, and if you hold it up to the light, you'll notice that at the tip of the mouthpiece here, the reed and mouthpiece are not touching, but about a ½ inch down, they come together and create a fulcrum. Now, that's a big word for, little ones. And so we call it the spot. So tell kids to mark their spot, find that spot where the reed and the mouthpiece come together. And I just have them mark it with their thumb. And this tells them how far in the mouthpiece has to go. I just put it right in up to the spot that they've marked. And what that does is if they have too little, the reed can't vibrate, and you either get no sound, or you get a thin sound, or you get a stuffy sound. But if they can get it far enough in, they get a beautiful sound. Now, of course, if they get it too far in, our clarinet will scream at us and tell us that it is not happy. And so we find that spot. So again, chapstick lip, valley in the chin, mark your spot, set your mouthpiece in your mouth up to the spot. This one's huge. Top teeth down. Kids don't like to put their top teeth down on the mouthpiece. So I really recommend using a mouthpiece cushion so that they're not getting the full effect of those vibrations on their top teeth, but the teeth have to go down. And then we just hug our lips all the way around. And so those are my steps. Again, for embouchure: chapstick lip, valley in the chin, mark your spot, mouthpiece in, top teeth down, and lips all around. And then we can start to build on that. But that's the basic. And I always say that woodwind embouchures have to be built. A brass embouchure, you kind of just natural lips, and then you're going. Of course, I'm simplifying, but there's a lot more steps to the woodwind embouchure. And if you just tell a kid, just stick that in your mouth and blow, you're going to have a lot of things to correct in the long run. So that's where we start.
Makes sense. Could you speak a little bit to maybe also talking a little bit about hand position? I know that's something that I've personally encountered quite a bit, which is just different problems that start to show up in the hands with young clarinetists.
Okay. So for the back here, the position of your thumbs controls the position of your fingers. So if your thumbs are correct, then your fingers can be correct. If your thumbs are wrong, forget it. And so we do with the left hand here. By the way, I don't know if SpongeBob is still cool with kids, but this is Squidward right here. If you look at Squidward, it really does bear a striking resemblance. And so Squidward's mouth, Squidward's nose.
My students knew who Squidward was, because when I showed them that, their minds were blown.
Mine usually are too, but this year, this new crop of beginners we just had in June, they're like, huh? Well, my little sister watches that, but I don't watch that. It's like, yeah,
right. That's a shame.
So the left thumb, we start with a thumbs up and a thumbs to the side, and then we go halfway in between, and that's the position of your left thumb. So it goes on the key halfway in between thumbs up and thumbs down. Okay. And when that is in place, then your left hand fingers will angle down slightly. And that gives you your good finger position. And, with clarinet, it's got all these holes in it. So if your finger position is poor, you're going to really struggle. Not only with technique, but just getting notes to play. So the left hand, thumb angles up, fingers angle down. Everything is relaxed. We shake the fingers out and we get a flat C shape. And so that's the feeling. We don't want this claw happening here. The right hand is different. So we've got the thumb rest on the back. You want the middle of the thumb rest right at the base, right at the cuticle of your thumbnail. And your fingerprint, your thumbprint presses right against the wood. I have seen everything. I've seen this. You want your thumbprint right against, and then these fingers go straight across. So top fingers are at an angle, bottom fingers are straight across. And then we teach right from the beginning, we want to hover. So many kids want to try to hold the instrument, but really the instrument is held between the right thumb and the top teeth. So, kind of going back to, embouchure, kind of that second step with embouchure that we do is that you really want the mouthpiece anchored underneath the top teeth. So I tell kids to, whether we're using the full clarinet, whether we're using the mini clarinet, gently push upward with your right thumb, push the mouthpiece up towards your top teeth, and that takes the pressure off of your bottom lip. Well, all of a sudden, when your bottom lip's not pressing against your reed, guess what? It can vibrate more.
Yes.
So we press the mouthpiece up and anchor it underneath those top teeth, and that takes the pressure off of the bottom lip and the reed. And then finally, once we can do that, and we're talking several days, of getting this happen, then we start talking about voicing. And for clarinet, voicing is the highest of any woodwind instrument. So if voicing isn't a term that you've heard, maybe vowel shape you've heard, I'll be honest, I never had a clarinet teacher or a band director talk about voicing when I was growing up in the long time ago. But voicing is basically the position of the shape of the oral cavity. So if you think about whistling, whistle a high note, whistle a low note, that's affected by the placement of your tongue. And that's essentially what voicing is. So with clarinet, the voicing is very high. Your tongue has to be arched high near the roof of your mouth, like you're saying E, E, or hissing like a cat. The kids will have fun with that one. And getting that tongue up high. And so that's kind of our third step. And between the embouchure setting up, getting this chin so it's not bunched, getting the mouthpiece anchored up, and the voicing, that helps us to create that resonance of sound. And then we can do all the things with the hand positions and the fingers and all of that. Although I will tell you, we don't go straight from this to this. We have to play on our half clarinet for a while. So we play on this for a little bit, and we can get, we can get G, F, E, D, a really, really out of tune C, but we can do cross buttons here. And that really does help to establish. I'm a firm believer that we simplify the skill.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing an instrument is hard. And if you throw everything at kids all at once, they're not going to be able to do any of it, and they're not going to remember any of it. And then they're going to just be left to their own devices, and bad habits develop. So again, starting, and we're on this for a while. And then when we finally introduce, then we'll have them hold up here on the barrel and get some fingers happening and all of the things before we eventually add the rest of the clarinet.
That is super fascinating. Could you, in your experience as an educator, could you maybe share some of your some common performance errors that you find that that get in the way of the characteristic tone that you've described?
Yes, I can. A big one is airstream.
Mm-hmm.
Too strong, not strong enough. That one I think is easy for most teachers to recognize. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of their go-to. Mm-hmm. A big one is not getting your top teeth planted on the mouthpiece. Kids don't like that vibration. They don't like the way it feels. And so we do a wiggle test. So if I put it in their mouth and I can wiggle it, they don't have their top teeth down. Mm-hmm. So they've got to be able to keep it in place, not let me wiggle it. So that a lot of kids want to look down, so they're mm-hmm. doing this when they play. So one of the things that I do in the very beginning weeks of instruction is we don't use music stands. We don't use books. I project everything on the screen and look at the screen because they just instinctively want to look down and make sure that the clarinet's still there, or that their hands are still there, or where are my fingers going? And so getting the kids to look straight ahead and blow straight ahead. We don't blow down into the clarinet. We blow across mm-hmm. the mouthpiece to get that reed to vibrate. So just little things that you can do to kind of set kids up for success without really even asking them to do a lot, It's something that I can do with my own setup that's going to make kids more successful. I tell them, if your clarinet screams at you, squeaks, your clarinet screams at you, that's its way of telling you it doesn't like something. And so make it and try something else. Yeah. And, your clarinet will always tell you if it's not happy with something. It's very, very fussy. And so that's a good thing, because we get this immediate feedback mm-hmm. in the beginning, and kids don't want to squeak. I don't want to squeak. I don't want to hear them squeak. So they get that immediate feedback that says, oh, wait, I've got to make an adjustment here.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you do that just kind of checks in on good habits or characteristic tone?
If you have access to mirrors, that can be great. Mm-hmm. So that they can see. A lot of kids will want to puff out their cheeks. Mm-hmm. And again, that's a result of the setup not being correct here. But if they can see it, then they know that they need to fix it. We do in the beginning, we do a lot of like individual, I hate to say go down the row, because that has a negative connotation, I think, sometimes back from, how band used to be taught. But we check in with every kid. We try to check in with every kid every day, okay, I want to hear everybody make a sound, and then we can give them a few words of advice as to what they, either this was great, you're doing everything exactly the way you need to, or, oh, can you put a little more mouthpiece in your mouth, or can you put a little less mouthpiece in your mouth, or your cheeks are puffed out, let's see if we can firm up the corners right here, any of those kinds of things where they're getting some specific individual attention makes a huge difference in the beginning as they're developing all those habits.
Wendy, if anybody has any follow-up questions about anything you've talked about today, do you mind if they send you an email?
They can absolutely send me an email.
All right, how do they reach you?
My email address is my name, Wendy, Wendy, Higdon, Higdon, at me.com.
Absolutely fantastic. And once again, make sure that you are checking out her website for all the amazing content on there. Wendy, on behalf of myself and all the teachers that are listening, thank you so much for doing this. This was incredibly helpful.
Yeah, clarinet, everybody thinks, oh, well, the hard band instruments are oboe and French horn, but I really feel like clarinet and trombone are like right there. And there's so many things that, maybe we missed out in our own crash courses in our music education classes. I mean, there's just no way that you can learn it all in the amount of time that's allotted to you in your undergrad. And, and I think we tend to repeat what we were told, or, you fill in gaps in your own knowledge with what you would do on your personal instrument. And, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. And so, just being able to pick up as you go, okay, all right, this year I'm going to really focus on what can I do to help my clarinets, or what can I do to help my percussionists, or whatever the case is in your own teaching. Just getting those little tips and tricks and starting to roll those in. And all of these things are things that you can do with your older students too. If a kid is playing with a stuffy sound, are they inhibiting the vibrations of the reed with their lips? Are they squeezing too much, or do they have too little mouthpiece in their mouth? Take a look at this shape here. Things that you can do. Now, habits are harder to break later on, but they can be broken. I, personally, as a clarinet student, I went through 3 embouchure changes in my studies, and maybe that's why I'm so deliberate about how I do it, because it wasn't fun at all.
Well, unfortunately, we were able to benefit from all this experience, and hopefully for some of us, for a lot of us who are listening, we can set our clarinets up for some tremendous success long term.
I hope so.
Yes. Well, thank you once again, Wendy. We so much appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's been great talking with you.